She got class and style, and balanced by the pound. Shorty never act wild, very low key on the profile. Catching feelings is a no. Let me tell you how it goes. Curves the word, spins the verb, loving it first, so read what you heard. Rolling with the lightning, you never quite know what that happened. You got to pay to play, just shorty bang bang to the doorway. I like the way you work it, top notch, sometime every day. You're blowing my mind, baby, in time. Maybe I can get you in my ride. I like the way you work it, oh diggity. Bag it up now, I like the way you work it, oh diggity. About to bag it up. I like the way you work it, oh diggity. About to bag it up. I like the way you work it, oh diggity. I like the way you work it, I like the way you work it, I like the way you work it.
Hello guys.
Hello, hi,
Yeah.
Haprit.
How are you?
Wow, you're very loud.
Louder.
Very good.
Oh, sorry.
What's the reduced volume ticket?
Okay, 1 second.
Your music is like skipping a few beats there.
We haven't got it perfect yet, lah. You know, what's that? I think that there's actually proper equipment that we need to get in order to.
I think there's some
stream.
echo, lah, bro. It's an echo. I can hear echo from. Jason, I can hear you talking like double, you know.
Are you using your headset, bro? I think you need to use your headset. If not, your mic will pick up whatever you're saying. I've put in an order for a mic. I'll be soon getting a mic for myself so we can actually have better quality in streams.
Mm-hmm.
Your audio repeats like after 5 seconds.
How about now?
Actually, I'm hearing okay. I'm hearing fine from just now. Are you opening 2 tabs, Colbert? Are you also hearing the live on Facebook?
It could be that. It could be that possibility.
Yeah, so you'll be hearing twice because you're also hearing the live on Facebook.
All right. It looks like people are coming in already. Okay.
Yeah, thanks for the tip, Harpreet. Yeah, because I opened another page. That's why I can hear myself talking after that.
Okay, no problem.
Hello. Welcome. Okay. We are getting people from Blocklime, Facebook as well, from various places. Hi, everybody. We'll be starting in about like 1 minute. Okay, I think we can start on timer. No problem. Okay. Satoshi in the house. Hey, Jonathan.
Talking about you, lah. They're referring to you, Jason.
Oh. I don't have 1 million Bitcoins. I hope that people find the the webinar link. Today we weren't expecting we weren't expecting the response that we got actually. This morning we woke up quite pleasantly surprised that we were sold out. Okay. Previously we were planning to do this on Google Meet, which had a maximum of 150 attendees in the room, but we got in total right now 250 respondents. So we have to adapt and adjust, and that's why we are doing this on FB Live instead right now. Okay. All right. It is now 3 p.m. Okay, and let us begin. Welcome, everyone. Today is a very special day. It is the first day of a long series, okay, of education sessions, free webinars on enterprise, okay, solutions for blockchain. Today, today we're going to be talking about Quorum, okay, and we actually have, a whole set of very special topics, very specialized topics over the week. This week is going to be really, really special. Okay. First and foremost, okay, for those who are complete beginners, okay, about blockchain, don't worry. This is going to be done in a way that it is suitable and easy for beginners to understand. Secondly, for those, okay, who are very, very new, and I think the first thing, okay, that we need to talk about is that these 7 days won't be talking about cryptocurrencies. These 7 days is about exploring, okay, the different kind of technologies behind the hood, okay, and how you can apply it in an enterprise setting. What problems can it solve? Um, and we're going to explore 7 different kind of platforms over the next 7 days. So we're on the first day. Right now we're on April 29th. Okay, today we're going to cover Quorum, and we have a stellar lineup, okay, of speakers over the next 7 days. It's going to. I'm really, really excited because it's very rare, okay, that normally to learn all this specialized knowledge, it would normally cost you a lot of money, okay, to get all this kind of information, all right, in one place at one go. But you get to learn it for free, okay, over the next 7 days. And what success looks like is that you walk away knowing 7 different technologies. What are their differences? Who is using them? How are they using them? And how you can use it for your enterprise. Hopefully, okay, that by the end of these 7 days, you have gained so much, okay, insight and inspiration that you'll be like, okay, we can do this. This person can do this. Now we can do that, right? So first day, okay, we have Quorum. Okay, today we're starting with Quorum. Quorum is a blockchain, okay, protocol that is used by companies like JP Morgan. I think Microsoft is also using Quorum as well. Then tomorrow we are going to we have Ant Financial, okay, which will be introducing their blockchain protocol called Ant Chain. I think what's that? They are related to Alibaba Group, okay. But we'll learn more about them tomorrow. And then on the third day, we have Alibaba Cloud. And then we are taking a break, okay, during the weekend, and then we'll come back, okay, on Monday to learn about another protocol called Stacks. Okay, Stacks is very popular, okay, among capital markets. Then on the fifth day, we're going to talk about Hyperledger. Hyperledger is also very, very popular because they have a very, very broad range, okay, a suite of tools, okay, that you can use for your application. On the sixth day, we're going to talk about R3 Corda. R3 Corda is popular among the banks, okay, and consortium blockchains. But it's not just about banks. It started with banks, okay, and the applications are starting to grow much broader as well. And then on the last day, we're going to cover on Hedera Hashgraph. So Hedera Hashgraph is interesting because it's not actually a blockchain. More will be, you will learn more about this, why, okay, it's not a blockchain, okay, on the 7th day. And we have Tom Trowbridge, okay. We're very lucky, okay, to be able to get him, okay, to be part of this educational series. And one of the people that use Hedera Hashgraph, okay, I believe for their supply chain is Boeing. So there's going to be like a lot of content. Do sit back, okay, grab a pen, grab something to write notes with, okay, as we go along. Today's, okay, this entire week session of events have been brought to you by 5 partners. Okay, the first one being Blocklime. Okay, Blocklime is a blockchain development and training company. Okay, you will meet the CEO and founder, okay, shortly, which has trained over 1,000 blockchain developers over the last 3 years. Then we have technology for Penang. Okay, our good friend, okay, in the north, Kariku, runs this community group, very active in the startups. We have iTrain, okay, which provides training programs, okay, broad range of training programs. And we are supported by Access Blockchain Association of Malaysia, which is the blockchain association which helps us, is probably the reason why Malaysia, we have a blockchain industry in Malaysia today. Because I remember 3 years ago when blockchain cryptocurrencies was still something very new to a lot of people. There was a lot of it was a very different time. I remember there was even a time when there was worries and concerns that the government might just do an outright ban on anything related to blockchain or cryptocurrencies. But they did not do that, thanks to the work of Access Blockchain Association of Malaysia. And last but not least, okay, you have yours truly. My name is Jason from Bitcoin Malaysia. I'm your host, okay, for the next 7 days. And what Bitcoin Malaysia is, we are the largest cryptocurrency community group. We help people to learn about cryptocurrencies and know the difference between them and blockchain technology, know what's real, what's fake. Combined together, okay, these 5 partners together, our mission is to help 50,000 more Malaysians to enter the blockchain industry by providing a safe, neutral, and an easy environment for you to learn about the technology, what it is, why it matters, how can I use it, and help people differentiate between what's real and what's fake, because this is a space that has a lot of misinformation. So by helping people to do that, okay, they can then avoid losing money, losing time, wasting, getting heartache, okay, from buying into scams, etc. And they can capture the real opportunities, and we can actually see prosperity grow in this sector. The fourth thing that we do, okay, we hope at the end of this 7 days is to help more people, okay, learn about blockchain technology so that they can find remote work and generate an alternative income in this space. In the blockchain industry, it is very common that teams they operate globally and they operate remotely. So, but the first thing that you need to learn, okay, is what is, okay, blockchain, what is real, what is fake. And last but not least, okay, by helping to helping get more Malaysians to understand and to mature their knowledge, okay, in this topic, we then are able to then attract reputable, well-funded blockchain projects from all over the world to come to Malaysia and to find their local user adoption, find users, and also fans and champions. So, and it's particularly important at this time, okay, especially, early this year, there's this report that came out from LinkedIn that was just a bombshell, okay, that they did a survey. And one of the things, okay, that they found is that blockchain, a skill that wasn't even, okay, in the top 10, okay, of demanded skills in 2019, became number 1 in 2020. So it's really, really something worth looking into today, and you will learn that why, okay, over the next thing. Here's 5 things that I hope, okay, that you all will learn, okay, at the end of these 7 days. The first is, okay, is strong blockchain fundamentals. What it is, okay, why it matters, what does it actually do, what problems does it actually solve, okay. And today being the first day, okay, Harpreet, our presenter Harpreet will be taking it, slow at the beginning, so that everybody walks away with some very good basics, okay, knowledge about blockchain. And you should be able to, at the end of the 7 days, okay, have some clarity when to use blockchain and when not to use blockchain, so that you don't find yourself in a situation where you're just using blockchain because it's just a buzzword. At the end of the 7 days, okay, you will learn what's the difference between public permissionless blockchains versus private permission blockchains, because not all blockchains are the same. If this is something that you feel is a little bit hard to understand, don't worry, we take it one step at a time. At the end of the 7 days, you will learn the different use cases, okay, of private permission blockchains. And last but not least, how do you get started? Where do you begin, right? For your own purpose. So also, by the way, stay to the end, okay, of each session for instructions on how to receive, okay, your unique proof of attendance ERC71 721 NFT token. What this basically is a cryptographic token, okay, that proves that you have attended this session, and you can store it in your wallet. It's really cool. We was just thinking that instead of giving out another certificate of attendance, instead you will receive this token, okay, where you can store it in your wallet, and this token acts as a proof recorded on the blockchain that you have attended this session and you have covered this topic, you have learned this, and this. It's really cool. So stay to the end, okay, for instructions on how to receive your unique proof of attendance ERC721 NFT token. Right. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce, okay, our presenter for today. His name is Harpreet Singh. He's the CEO and founder of Blocklime. Blocklime is, I've already given an introduction, okay, of what they do. I met Harpreet like 3 years ago. I believe it was at one of the events in Cyberjaya at Majek. And over the years, I learned, okay, one of the things I really admire about Harpreet is that he is a person, okay, who just very giving, trains a lot of people, very passionate about educating people, helping more and more people, okay, to come into the blockchain space, find jobs, very important, find jobs. And another thing, okay, that is really cool about Harpreet is that he is my go-to person, okay, whenever I needed some sort of consultation for anything about any kind of new technology, okay, because what Harpreet and his team, okay, a philosophy they stand by is that they are what we call technology agnostic, which means they are neutral, okay, across different technologies. Whether is it that you're interested in developing on Ethereum, Solidity, you're intending to develop on Neo or NEM or EOS or Cardano or something private permissionless like Hyperledger, Quorum, which you're learning today. He is by far the best person, okay, that I know today, who I can go to, and he can give me very pointed answers because I can trust him to give me unbiased advice. So today he's going to talk about Quorum. Okay, Harpreet, are you there? Are you ready? Harpreet?
Yep, I'm ready.
All right. Okay. So you have your slides. Let me share your slides. Where are your slides?
1 second, yeah. Let me share my screen.
All right. For those who are listening in, okay, here's some other guidelines for you to maximize, okay, your experience from here. Number one, please use the chat. We have a setup here that we can actually see your incoming questions as you ask them. Okay, if you have a question that you really want to get an answer right now, we will do our best, okay, to answer it as they come in. Or, okay, we will let you know, okay, if it's a good question, and we take it at the end of the session. Okay. How are we doing?
I would say this is usually people think COVID-19 lockdown, people will be mostly like having time with their family, or you're like kind of sleeping more, watching Netflix more. But I think these days has actually got me more busy. In between organizing events to executing projects and delivering, I'll say that it became among the most busiest time that I've actually been since the era of since I started Blocklime. And I think right after COVID-19 hit, a lot of people actually got much interested in blockchain for some reason. Everybody is like, oh, we can't actually do work, or we can't keep on operating the old way we used to do. Can we look into new technologies to assist our businesses, to assist like the way we do things. Can we do things better? Can we bring in digital transformation? Can we change these processes? Because you're kind of reliant on the communication network between multiple parties, and when like lockdowns like this happen, all the communication kind of broke down, right? The whole supply chain is affected. So in this case, let's say if you can operate from home, can your partners, can your vendors, can your suppliers, can your whole business landscape and people and your customers work from home, right? So you can see that COVID-19, although how it is, I will say that these are dark hours that we actually face on humanity and on the world right now. But on the other side, it is also becoming an opportunity for people to innovate and try to do things better, to do things, like to kind of apply more innovation, to apply more technology into their business use cases, and at the same time find ways that are more sustainable. So I will say that among the reasons that I actually like was kind of pondering about the idea that I would want to focus on like kind of sharing more about enterprise blockchain, and I kind of ring up Jason and said, hey, I really think that we should do this. This is an opportunity. A lot of businesses are looking new ways and trying to figure out how can they basically innovate using blockchain, but they're not asking the right questions, or they do not know the right place to look. And they're not familiar with the technology stack and the basics of it. Can we do something about it? And can we do it quick? So there's a reason, if you look into our marketing, and since we actually put it up, we actually just got everything patched together last week, in the end of last week, actually. And we really came up with the idea, call in, make some calls out and say, can you guys support us? Would you like to come in and speak on this event? I'll say it was a very interesting kind of discussions I had, where everybody I approached, they say, yes, we would love to do it. And they basically just came in on a single notice, and they said, yes, we would like to come in and contribute and share more about our technologies and how can we assist businesses, and how our technology can maybe find new ways to innovate in existing business use cases or existing business environments. So
I'm excited.
yeah.
I'm excited. Okay.
Yes.
And then I think that everyone, okay, is excited too. And I think the response itself, speaks for itself. Okay. They're excited to learn about Quorum. They're excited to learn about Chain, about Ali Cloud, Stacks, Hyperledger, Hedera Hashgraph, and I'm missing one more, R3 Coda. They're excited. They want to know what are the opportunities. Okay. They want to know. Yeah, they want to be guided. They want to be guided. They want to be able to know what's the difference. So are we ready to begin?
Sure. Yes. Okay. So I'll say let's begin, but I'm definitely going to go light on the technicalities, because I noticed that I often been kind of accused that Harpreet, like your conversations are very technical, or usually going very technical into the slides very quickly. Can you kind of give us a bit more of the basics? So I decided to put together a new slide from Quorum to basically try to make it a bit less technical. But before I get into Quorum, I would like to share a bit about myself, to kind of, so everybody in the audience can get to know, who I am, and why I do this. So I mean, if you go on my LinkedIn right now, a lot of people ask me, why are you doing like so many things? You have like so many active posts and stuff like that. And I'm like, actually, I do very few things for like the earning money side. I'm actually very driven towards the technology. So I was a blockchain developer. I got in early, and I was like since the early Bitcoin days, when Dash was just getting released and things like that, in early
Right.
cryptocurrencies. I was skeptical in the beginning, to kind of like, I didn't really knew the technology. I didn't really knew the coin. I didn't know what I was dealing with. So I didn't wanted to just jump in. I wanted to know what I'm dealing with before I like kind of consider it's good or bad. I like to go in to evaluate things, understand them, and then decide, is it really worth my time to like do something with it or just totally ignore it, right? So when I got into Bitcoin and started to figure out more about cryptocurrencies and trading, I actually was more curious about the technology behind Bitcoin. And I started doing some programming, started to take some freelance jobs, and I was still in my university, so the money was good. And then I landed a job as a blockchain developer. And 2 years plus back, we decided, hey, that's enough of doing ICO's development and all this project development. Let's try to do something more, because ICO boom was going on, and every project I came in was like, I was like 100 and 100% sure that ICO is gonna fail, but they were making money. They were raising funds like nobody's business. But I just felt that it's not sustainable in long term. The ecosystem would not be sustainable in long term if we really just focus on raising, but not delivering, not innovating, not having the ground structures in place. So I noticed there's like core things that were missing. They were missing research. They were missing what you call the ecosystem was missing a strong community, and we were missing a technical community. Even today, we are still trying to form the community to have more people who would love to build the technology, build the stacks, maybe even build it for fun. So we are still missing that sort of communities. And then we also were missing the government policies, understandings, and many other aspects. Even finance and investments are still not there yet, but hopefully that will be better in the future. So I decided to see which are the areas I could support in and I can come in and contribute. So I decided to just jump in for passion and go on board. So that's the reason I sit on multiple positions just for the love of blockchain right now.
Right.
So that is the mindset I come with. And I think I'll move on next. I think Jason already shared about Blocklime, but just briefly, this is what we can actually do for you. Blocklime is a development company. We do mostly development support, everything from building a custom blockchain, exchange, wallets, financial services, and we even have supply chain use cases, identity use cases, and things like that. And then we provide consultancy. We mainly focus on technical consultancy, because we are a bunch of nerds gathered together. So we prefer to kind of more consult on how you can actually build this application. And then we have partners who will provide the other side, the legality, the marketing, the market approach, and the other stuff. Then we also do a lot of trainings. We noticed that there were no much blockchain trainers in Malaysia, and we didn't have people who could build the talent here in Malaysia. So we said, why don't we go in? We try to focus on that area. And I think in the last 2 years, it has been a very good I'll say a very good kind of response from everybody who joined in our training, and we noticed that this can be a business segment for us. So this year we are signing in more deals, more partnership, bringing in more content, and also working towards building more online content. And I think by mid of the year or towards end of the year, you will be hearing more news from the Blocklime Academy side. So I would not like to waste much time over there. I think let's go into what is Quorum. So I would like to actually have more time towards the question and answer side, because usually we get a lot of questions, but I'll try to keep it light on the technicality. So so these are
what are you going to talk about first, bro?
Yeah, so these are the things we're going to discuss today from the overview. First, definitely we're going to touch about what is blockchain, moving into what is Ethereum. Blockchain very briefly, I'll try to show you a demo on how blockchain work. Then moving on to Ethereum, explain why Ethereum was important and why Quorum was formed, who is currently using Quorum, and how can you get started, especially for developers. But I'm just mostly going to be focusing on the tools and the communication angles where you can get started. Okay, so I'll move on. So everybody have hard time kind of getting their mind around what exactly is blockchain. For years and years, I've been really noticing that it has been very hard to explain blockchain in a very layman term. So I come in from mostly a computer science background. I was a software engineer, So if there's software engineers or computer science students, or like computer scientists hearing outside there, they will definitely be very they will be familiar with the terms called data structures. So blockchain is no more than just for another form of data structures that is tamper resistant. To understand this, I think I need to tell a bit of the story of the formation of cryptocurrency. So back in 2008, during the global financial crisis, we definitely have seen a huge mistrust into the financial sector, government, and people were looking alternatives of having of kind of securing their own finances, and kind of trying to secure like a way of doing payments and create their own money without having government or the Fed or the current banking systems involved. And there were multiple tries. There was Hashcash. There was I remember there was another bit money or something like that was being stopped down by Fed just in few months. But all of them were having some basic issues. They were good as they were kind of like the first version of Alipay, but they were too early into the game, and most of them got stopped because they were kind of been charged for printing their own money. So this is where somebody called Satoshi Nakamoto is either a person, or he's a man, or is he a lady, or is it a group? We have no idea about it. It's an anonymous group name or person. I have no idea about it, but it's mostly we only know that the person who actually wrote the white paper and developed the first version of Bitcoin was Satoshi Nakamoto. So, but going back to the idea of it, during that time there was actually multiple challenges towards like even to get a Bitcoin developed, or kind of something like Bitcoin out there, because there were no way for us to actually kind of detect something tampering our data. So for years we have been advancing in a lot of database technologies, trying to find log systems, trying to kind of just restrict. And a tamper-resistant structure is nothing different than our usual tabungs at home. Like usually we have the tabungs that you actually can break. We usually have seals on our, like on government files, or seals on government, like kind of confiscated houses or things like that. They usually have a seal just to yes, thanks for pointing it out. I just noticed there's a kind of a spelling error there, but thanks. But yeah, moving back, there's just something similar to that, but we didn't have that in our technologies. We didn't have that in our digital format. So in our database technologies, it was very hard for us to kind of detect if somebody is tampering with the database. So, and plus, if an individual has full control over the database, there's no stopping of no stopping him of changing the database anytime he wants. So let's say if I have full access to a particular database, if the hard disk is sitting down with me right now, I can just go up, delete everything, add in new information, or change whatever I want and repost it online. So it doesn't stop me from doing the temperament or any of the bad activities if I want to do behind it. So how can you, this was like some of the questions they asked, how can you trust such systems which are like heavily centralized, that are heavily controlled by single entities, but everybody else is working for those value or the money system, right? So these were the questions that, there were the communities was really asking, and I'll say it was a lot of it was driven by the failure of the financial system in 2008, and a lot of it might be driven by anger as well. But that was the time where the formation of blockchain really took place, and Satoshi came out with the idea of kind of creating a new data structure where you can detect if somebody is trying to tamper with it. But I think to really understand this or this concept, I think let's go into a demo. So you actually can try this along. What do you call it? Along? It's called Anders brownwords.com blockchain, and you actually can test this out as well together. Let me just full screen this. So a bit of information about hash. Hash is just a kind of a computer code where it's kind of shorten whatever you're writing in. So in this case, let's say if I'm writing, my name is Harpreet, it gives me a fixed size kind of data that I can keep, which I can use to check if, oh, I really notice I'm bad in my typing skill. Name is Harpreet, and you can see that it's always giving me the same size string in return. And in computers, we can use this string to verify if the data was changed or the data was actually ever tampered, because every space as well gives me a new value. So let me just add this link. Okay, so it just gives you a new string of hash string every time you add in even a space. So it kind of, if let's say if you record this hash, you know, let's say if you keep this hash as your proof of temperament every time you, let's say you want to write a record or you want to write a Word file, you want to make sure nobody even try to change a slightest bit, you can actually just use the hash of the file. So in this case, even let's say if it's a contract or it's an account, it's a ledger, you can always refer back to the hash of the file, and you can know if it was changed or not. And moving next, this is where a block comes in, the block of the blockchain. So you can put any of the information, and whenever the hash changes, you have to remind the hash to kind of get a new value to verify if to kind of validate the block. And moving into a blockchain, this is a series of blocks linked together with the previous hashes. So in this case, this is the first one. You can see all the hashes are 0, and this is the hash of this block, and this is the hash of this block, and this is the hash of this block. So in this case, they're kind of linked together like a chain, right? So they're like groups of blocks linked together like a chain, you know, like how chains kind of clip together. So that's where the name blockchain kind of came to existence, because you have blocks of data broken up. And why they actually broken up to blocks of data as well, there's a reason. Because let's say if you want to account for something, you want to make sure something is like kept in check. Example, we do a lot of this like in our account books. If anybody have did accounts, especially for the organizations or even let's say a school club as well, you will know that we actually record our ledgers day by day, year by year, month by month. I mean, so in this case, you have like it kind of broken down to like multiple sets of datas, right? So let's say you will account for the day, then you will account for the week, then you will account for the month, then you will account for maybe the quarter, and then the year. So in this case, you break it up the information in that way. So when you do that, you can check that if all the calculation was right for the day, was all the calculation right for the week, was all the calculation right for the month, for the quarter, and so on. So in this case, you can make sure that all the information coming in is being checked and verified and added in. In this case, you kind of add in an extra layer of security. And then you link them together to the hash of the previous block. In this case, what happens every time somebody tries to go in and change? Let's say if you keep it in the account terms, you sum up all the revenue of the whole year towards the end of the year. And let's say somebody tries to change or try to add in. Let's say it was a burger stall, like a ledger, and somebody decided to just go and change a value and make the burger, maybe sold 3 less burgers. But what you're doing, you're actually summing up the ledger for the whole year, and from day to day, week to week, month to month, year by year. So in this case, and you actually check what is your annual revenue. Let's say you go and change and you plus or minus something in the ledger, like on today, it will actually reflect. You will actually have to plus or minus and check the value. Your end year value will actually be affected. But if it's just piece of data or a piece of paper where you written on, you can always like kind of cancel it and just change a new number. Nobody's stopping you from that. But if it was actually linked together with hash, it kind of provides you a way where it actually can detect that if somebody is tampering it. So now these are the hash for all these empty boxes, and they are linked together to the previous hash of the previous blocks. And these are all the blocks being added in, and all of them are like block 1, block 2, block 3, block 4. Somebody asked me to elaborate on the nonce. Nonce is actually a kind of value that is calculated in the case of Bitcoin blockchain. It doesn't exist in every blockchain. It only exists mainly in proof of work blockchains, and when you have to do more mining. So what happened is, in this case, let's say I want to verify this. I want to verify if the value of this whole block's information equals to this hash. And you will need to get all the information, including this nonce value, plus this empty box, and guess this hash value. But when I decided to change this, you can see that the hash value here changed. So it actually doesn't know where to link anymore. Also, all the connection with the next blocks from the place you change has been broken. So the link from this block to this block has currently now broken. So there's no longer a link between them. And the data from this block, and if let's say we changed the information from here, all the information from this block and before are actually still valid, and they are correct. But afterwards, they are no longer valid after this particular block. So in this case, you know where the temperament might have happened, and you actually can go in and check for it. But let's say in the case of proof of work or Bitcoin, even in Ethereum, it uses proof of work at the moment. So let's say if anybody does any temperament, you have to remine it. So let's say you want to do any changes, maybe even a changes that actually is required, you need to remine the database, because editing is a feature. You must allow things to be edited, but it has a cost. So in this case, let's say if I'm going to do this, I have to mine every single block that came after it until the end of the blockchain. So in this case, let's say if I wanted to go back a year back and sign my name, sign $1 million worth of Bitcoins on my name on the Bitcoin blockchain, I get access to the whole database of the Bitcoin protocol. I get all the access to all the blocks. I can actually go in there and even put an information or go in and type a number to my name. But I will have to mine all the blocks again on a high, with spending a lot of electricity. I'm trying to be not too technical right now, so I'm trying to not to go too deep into all the other aspects that come into mining a block. But in a very general term, it basically just you just have to remine everything, and the cost of electricity that it takes is very high. So in this case, you can spend millions to just get 1 million of Bitcoin, and maybe it might even jump up to 100 million to just get just trying to get one, and you still might not succeed. High probability.
Let me try to recap.
Never succeed. Yes.
Let me try to recap. Okay, so what you're saying, okay, is blockchain is a data structure, okay, that it takes in the form in blocks, okay, and it's tamper-proof, it's tamper-resistant, okay, because they are linked together, and people have to basically do verification of the correctness of data. In the case of Bitcoin, it is through staking electricity, right? Okay, to basically say that this is the correct information, okay, for the block. So that's basically what blockchain is a shared ledger that's tamper resistant because it's very difficult. The more difficult it is, okay, to actually change the previous block, the more secure the blockchain is.
Yes. So until now, I think we got blockchain out of the way. But as the previous argument that I gave, if I'm controlling the whole hard drive, it's fully centralized, I still have access to the whole database. I still can go in and change the data on the blockchain. Here comes in the second challenge that kind of Satoshi had. How can I make sure that, let's say, if I put in a database or I put up a currency which is permissionless, open to access to everybody, it's not being kind of being controlled by just one group, or can easily be shut down by the government, or can easily be tampered with. So he wanted to build a system which can where the network itself can kind of protect the system. So let me go to my next slide. But before I get into that part of blockchain, I'm just wondering why my slide is all white.
Somebody asked a question, can a blockchain exist without a nonce? You explained what a nonce is earlier, but can a blockchain exist without a nonce?
It can actually. So if you ask if you want to create a blockchain without a nonce, yes, it can exist. But nonce exists there for you can create different sort of measures for basically verifying the block. So let's say you don't want a nonce value and you don't want to use proof of work. Like using electricity for the calculation, you can do that. But you also can use nonce and verify it to proof of stake and other means as well. But you can a blockchain without nonce can exist. To give it a simple answer. So sorry. So let me go back to the slide. So moving on to the earlier question or the earlier statement, right? So we really look into it, if blockchain is fully centralized, it can still be tampered with. It still can be shut down. It still will not truly be an open technology, an open protocol that everybody can be free to joining in, and it still have to rely on certain parties to kind of really control it. If you really look into it, this is how early days of Alipay was, right? You had Alibaba went in out and issue Alipay, even like how Touch and Go is at the moment to a certain extent. They have some cloud services running out there, so everybody can connect to the cloud services, and they basically can go out and do some transactions and use their money. And the actual person who controls that database, it's AliCloud. So let's say tomorrow there was an error, which usually doesn't really happen that often, but let's say there is an error, and tomorrow suddenly your account value is 1 million, right? And Alibaba had no clue that actually, or they had no way to checking. Usually they always have back-end audits and everything to verify that all the accounts and all the it matches their audit records. But let's say suddenly there was an error and you got $1 million, and it actually went through the audits. So now that is the new truth. But there is also a possibility the opposite might happen. You had $1,000 and now you have $0, right? How do you prove that? Because the only source of truth, it is in the Alibaba, or just as an example, or any of the e-wallet players, or any of the banks, or any of the financial institutes database. So whenever there's a missed transaction, or there is a wrong transaction, or an error in the database, how do you really prove it, right? So, and because that was the source of truth, most of us don't even have a record, or we don't even back up our financial records, because we know for years we have built the confidence with the banking system, and we know that it's there, right? So in this case, a centralized structure, that is one of the challenges it has. So if you're trying to build an alternate currency, or we are trying to build an alternate ecosystem where it's not controlled by a central government, it is more shared, collaborative, we can't use it on a centralized structure. So in this case, if Bitcoin was built on a centralized structure, it would have been shut down by now, because the governments would definitely track down where the servers, and Bitcoin would have just shut down like all the other competitors of Bitcoin at that time. Then going to put it in a simpler term, what centralized systems and what are the difference between this computer system, I would like to use the analogy of kind of school teams. So I would like to share a bit of my life experience. So I was not always the person who liked to go classes. I have really good friends who used to attend my university classes, and
So
all
you
of us.
ponteng lah, basically.
Yeah, basically I was the type of person who ponteng a lot class. I think my lecturers who might be listening in, they know, or they might be laughing at the back. But I used to be a type person who I get the minimum attendance, but not all the time I'm there lah. And sometimes I miss the important classes. But there is always in every class the one very good student who attends every single class. And in every class, that guy is my friend, and he's my good friend. And he's not only my good friend; he's the whole class good friend. So in this case, all the people who don't really attend, they will always have a guy, like, hey, you guys, where are you? Did you go to the class today? And what did lecturer say? What is any of this coming on in the midterm? So you can see over time that, let's say this is you guys and this is the whole class asking you guys questions, right? And in this case, you can see all these people trying to get, like information from the one guy, right? So in this case, this one guy is under a lot of pressure now, load, have to reply so many people. And in this case, sometimes there is a possibility that he just get burned out and he just don't want to reply anybody, or he just ignore everybody's messages. This
Single point of failure.
Single point of failure. So in this case, if everybody is reliant to one piece of computer, one point of in the system, there is a possibility that the system, if the system fails or the database got corrupted, basically there is no backup. But these days, of course, in a lot of systems we do that, we have proper backups. But in the case of the story of the university, we have a lot of times disappointed our friends who suddenly just started to ignore us after for a while because asking them too many questions, and we decided to be good boys and start doing classes. And moving to the next example, this is how relatedly a study group should be. Actually, this is like how we should be, how the model study group should be actually. So in this case, everybody kind of knows something. So in this case, let's say I know about maths, he knows about history, somebody knows about computer science, and everybody kind of shares the information. Let's say somebody need to know about maths, they know, oh, Harpreet knows maths, or maybe Adam knows computer science and he can share about computer science and programming. So we can always refer each other. We have a network of information sharing and collaboration. So, and in this case, it's still quite helpful even in computers today. This is how similarly computer works. Let's say this is Facebook Malaysia, this is Facebook Singapore, and your data is Facebook Malaysia. When you go into Singapore, you can connect to the database, and the database can request your information and your feeds and your news and sync it up here. Let's say you go Australia, it sync it up there, and it always kind of collaborate with it, and they have like a structure where the information is always flowing between them, and they're operating much better. But this kind of structure, there's always a study group needs a leader, or it needs some contact points, which or it need a common interest, right? So in this case, people, or they must be friends. There need to be some rules, even in a study group, for the study group to be functional. So in this case, there's always a point. Let's say if it's a decentralized system as well, if let's say Facebook decided to shut down, they can shut down every single server because all of them kind of work in the same group. But the distributed, it's more like sports. It's more like playing badminton or futsal or basketball. If you really go back and ask yourself, like, who really taught you how to play basketball? Who really taught you how to play futsal or games like that? So if you really look into it, often you observe, you knew what were the game rules, you learn what were the game rules of the particular game, and you know what was, and whenever, let's say if it's a futsal game, whenever you go into the game, you just observe how people are playing. Whenever you do a foul, people kind of tell you that that's a foul and what will be the countermeasure, and the rules are set already, and you just go out there and play it, right? And once a person already know how to play football, he can always go and teach the next person how to play football, and they can start playing football, and they just obey the rules. Go to the next place, they can obey the rules. And in this case, for centuries, games has been with us. and all this sports activities has been with us. They have definitely progressed over the years, but in terms of a protocol, in terms of a common information, it has been there for ages already. So if, let's say, we can design our computer systems to behave similarly, set a set of game rules that we decide, if, let's say, if somebody is trying to attack the system, what to do, if somebody is trying to cheat, what to do, if somebody is sending a valid transaction, what to do, and set the game rules in the protocol and just deploy it on the computers and let the computers do the work for us. Let the computers run on this game. So this is, in this case, it becomes quite unstoppable. It kind of like keep on growing. Every time somebody tries to shut down one or two computers, somebody else will pop up another computer with the same system. It picks it up from there. You don't have to do anything. So in this case, Bitcoin became, let's say if you want to stop a game today as well, let's say you try to shut down the games here in Malaysia, you tell people stop playing football tomorrow, right? Now you can do it because
Okay.
COVID-19, people are understanding. They will actually not go and play football. They won't get summoned. But let's say if you were trying to force people not to play sports, people will try to find ways to play sports. They will try to do something to go around the system and do what they like to do. So in this case, when distributed system and Bitcoin was coming out, BitTorrent and all these file systems was also quite hot during that time. So they said, can we pick these concepts and apply this to blockchain and make sure there's no central failure and make the blockchain kind of a shared information and a shared structure and without single point of failures. So I think I'll go back to the example. So if you see this was the blockchain on one hard drive, let's say, one person controlling it. The real power comes in when we start to distribute it. Just like the slide earlier, you distributed it, you gave everybody a set of database, and you gave them a rule. You said that if anybody has a different database, basically he's cheating. So let's say if in the game of futsal, if everybody went and played, let's say there was 10 people playing the game, everybody say that Adam scored 2 goals. Adam is claiming his hat-trick. Basically, 9 people against 1, Adam is lying. Right? So in this case, we know that who is actually cheating or who is trying to, like kind of pose in front of their friends that he was the hat-trick, right? So in this case, the kind of the majority or the participants of the network, or in the case of the sports, the players, they kind of validate the information along the game. So in this case, let's say if you have all of them having a set of database, and all of them are currently in sync, all of them are the same database. Let's say if I go and change something here, you can, the other peer A, peer B knows that peer C has a different version of the database. So they will check if majority has the same database with them. If they say that, example, there were more peers than peer A, B, and C, they were D, E, F, for example, they will check with them. If everybody has the majority database, will basically be considered to be the true database. And PSC will be asked, okay, you should drop from the place that you already wrong. Let's say if it is from second block 2 and sync with us, the block 2 information means this has been tempered. So in this case, they will just drop this block 2, 3, 4, 5 and follow block 2, 3 from here, the information over here. So every time when there's it will actually have to take the majority's answer. So if I go in today and I try to temper this and try to force it, I can't do it because now I have distributed the database. So just like in the case, the reason a lot of organizations like to publish their accounts for the sake of transparency is because, let's say, if anybody is trying to tamper, let's say we know that there were 2,000 members, everybody pay, let's say, 1 ringgit, and there should be 2,000 ringgit. In the end, we should have 2,000 ringgit to do activities, and we should be spending that much. But we only account for 1,500. What happened to the extra 500 ringgit? Now the secretary or like the treasurer or the person have to answer that question because the database has been transparent out there, right? So in this case, these were some of the principles that blockchain followed, and in this case, that's how it operated in the beginning. So now, if you go in here, PSC would have to drop and sync back to all the majority peers. That's where we talk a lot about the 51% attacks and things like that in the cryptocurrency space. Because in this case, if let's say if you have 51%, attack means when it's actually happening against the community's approval or the like the people's approval. If it's an approval of the community, it's actually 51%. It's kind of being approved with majority. When an attack is like a group of people or a group of or an organization decide to take hold of like 51% of the power. Let's say it's the mining power or is it the staking power, and try to just enforce their decisions onto the community. So in a very basic form, that is what it is. You can put whatever you want inside of it. So the first use cases we decided, why can we put money in it? That's where the Bitcoin actually formed. A lot of people imagine Bitcoin like this digital bits transferring from here to there, or imagining, because we saw a lot of videos about Bitcoin. But actually, it's just this one boring database tells like this much amount was sent from Ripley to Lambert, for example. So in this case, it's just a database that is actually keeping points over there. So next time when you imagine a Bitcoin, you should not be imagining a kind of a coin flying through the internet or flying through the world. It actually should be the imagination of a database changing. So that is the more boring way of imagining it, but that's how it is. Sure.
It is. So that's the thing, okay? When people say that I'm sending you Bitcoins, actually what's happening is that it's just like an accountant basically just updating the books and saying that, okay, all right, now Harpreet has less money, Jason has more money, and that's it. There's actually no, going out to withdraw the money and then, send the money to that person, because it's all happening in one shared database.
I mean, it's the same for the global digital banking as well. They're actually updating one database from one bank to the other bank, but only thing it takes more time for verify, validate on banking, because they have a lot of draconian processes that you have to go through. But in the case of Bitcoin, it's the same database. Globally, you have the addresses which are like similarly, structured. And in this case, you're just transferring, let's say, 2 Bitcoin from my account to Jason's account. So it's just deducting on mine, adding on Jason's, and then it is added to Bitcoin into the ledger, and it's approved. Then Jason has the 2 Bitcoin. As simple as that.
But when governments, okay, like for example, need to agree with one another what should be the correct data, okay, this is where sometimes they don't know whether they can trust, that their data is correct. That's why there's so many verification processes that are in place. Is that what it is?
I mean, of course, because the reason the point was this slowdown in the financial transaction globally exists is because of precaution measures, right? Because we want to make sure that the user is valid. We don't have proper identity systems, right? There's a lot of fake identities, fake bank accounts. There's a lot of people using the funds for bad activities, money laundering or terrorism financing. There's a lot of shell companies doing things like that. So in this case, there's a lot of, one is the verification process. Number 2 is also the communication between one bank to 2 bank. And sometimes, let's say I want to send my money to Kenya, but maybe we don't have a direct access to Kenya. But there might be a bank in India that works with Kenya, and I can work with India. So I will settle with India, India settle with Kenya. So things like that also exist. There's where you have somebody else become a mediator in that sort of financial settlement. So this has caused a lot of delays in a lot of the current financial system, which even the banks are struggling because the cost of operations are high. So they charge higher fees to the to the customer, and the customer don't want to pay high fees. They don't want to pay high remittance fees, and they're opting out for smarter fintech solutions and even cryptocurrencies. So they are losing customers. They have high costs. So in this case, they're finding a place to kind of keep that business segment moving. So this is where a lot of businesses and companies see a point to innovate right now, especially in the remittance space.
So give another example, right? Okay, this one might be a little bit cheeky, a bit sensitive, but this month, okay, the government, okay, said that to help with our relief, right, we are allowed to take out 500 ringgit from our own retirement savings, right, from account 2. But what I realized is that even if I apply today for the 500 ringgit, right, the first payout is next month. I cannot get it today, even though I need the money today. When people need the money today, so would a blockchain implementation, okay, help solve that?
I believe there is a lot of like background processes that goes into releasing the funds. So I think once you put in the like the EPF, I'm assuming, I do not know the EPF processes, but I'm assuming that there will be a verification, validation. They have to check can they approve you in this allotment of fund release, and they say okay, yes, they can allow you to release, and then it will easily take like 2 to 3 days to get there, and approval, and then bank transfer, easily a week gone, right? But where if it was on a smart contract, let's say you put it up here, and in this case, only you can have your address, and if you have the address, you are Jason. You own your keys. If you have the keys, you are Jason. That's what we agreed on, and maybe we can have additional securities like biometrics, or we can have your like a digital IC or something like that, information there as well. Once we approve, yes, this is Jason, we're confirmed, that's it. The smart contract automatically execute and sends you your money. So it can be, let's say, maybe a half an hour to 20 minutes process, because you still might need somebody to verify that you're Jason or not, because we still have a lot of frauds. But that process can be rapidly expedited. So in this case, it'd be much faster to do such claims and such processes. So in this case, I think, and somebody asked me, how can if some
I need to moderate the time here. Okay, there are some very good questions coming in, but we'll leave it to the end. Okay. I think that we've done a fantastic job, okay, explaining blockchain, but we only have an hour left, and we need to cover the quorum portion as well, and also what's that, Q&As.
Okay.
So now that we know what a blockchain is, okay, we know the differences between centralized and decentralized systems, and you gave very good example of the game theoretic the game theoretic benefits of computer systems when it's distributed and decentralized. What next? What must people know next?
I think before we jump into Quorum, this is like just for an overview. It is not just once we apply the concept of playing, like games, and we apply that into computers, we actually can open a whole new paradigm of possibilities. We can talk about everything from distributed computing to storage to cloud to file systems. And if you look into the crypto space, almost all like a lot of the projects actually talking about different sort of technologies. And I think all of the points that I put up here already have a project out there, or like a vendors out there who are already developing technologies in this direction. And if you look into here, under distributed system, under storages, under ledger, you actually also have many different ways to kind of store your database, or find I kind of detect how if somebody is tampering with your database or not. So it's no longer just blockchain technology as the only solution for a tamper-resistant database on a DLT. There are also DAG technologies like Hashgraph, Tangle. We'll talk more about it over the weekend, and Block Lattice, and there are many more, but these are like some of the famous ones. So just to tell you, there is no longer just to talk about blockchain, but it has grown to a whole new industry. The only thing tying them up together, a lot of these projects are actually raising funds through cryptocurrencies. So a lot of them are known for that, but all of them are actually working on some beautiful ideas and new concepts, new world-changing ideas. And I think in the next few years, we'll see some real adoptions and applications coming out. So just give an overview. So how I see blockchain is basically like this. I think I don't want to go too technical, but it's basically multiple layers of technologies. And there's like multiple layers working together. So it's a stack of technologies working together instead of just one thing. So to put it simply, blockchain a way for you to it's a technology that self-governs the network. It ensures that nobody is tampering with the database. You can actually you create your financial services above it. You can put up your contracts. You can also build unstoppable applications. You can build applications where you need trust. You can put your certificates on it. And it's a stack of technologies working together to protect the data that you put in, and make sure that nobody is tampering with it. And the bigger the network, the more secure it is usually in usual cases. So moving next towards Ethereum. So Ethereum was after Bitcoin, Ethereum was like the next big thing because it was an open source blockchain with smart contracts above it. They brought in a lot of interesting ideas like dApps, EVMs, technology with their project. So first, people were thinking, can we actually have digital money which can be governing itself and can be global, can be away from the current financial institute? Then people say, now since we have this technology that can self-govern, that can self-operate, and people are trusting it, and people are doing their financial transaction on this, can we now add contracts above this, right? And basically have smart contracts that can self-execute, self-operate, and basically have business operations around it, and also have a lot of, and that opens up a whole new realm of possibilities with just smart contracts. And but the Ethereum didn't stop there. They said, can we actually even add up applications above this? So we have contracts. Contracts have to speak to some sort of applications, right? Let's say if it's an land title, maybe you have the land title contract that Harpreet owns this land title from this square feet to this square feet at this particular coordinate, and this is owned by Harpreet for the next 10 years. And the government has signed it, and now this is owned by me. After 10 years, automatically it returns to the state, for example. Or maybe I have to renew and pay something else. If I don't pay, it automatically returns to the state, or I get a summon. You can add the rules in that smart contract, and the smart contract will execute on its own. And I can build an application around it. Yeah. Sorry?
Right. Just want to pause you right there. Okay.
Yeah.
So what you're saying, okay, is that unlike, okay, currently what we have is that we have pieces of paper, okay, that is stored at an archive somewhere that says that I have ownership of this, and if this happens, okay, there's a contract, right?
Yes.
But rather than having it on a physical contract, we have it, in a blockchain, in a computer code, okay, that is tamper resistant, tamper proof, that self executes. So we don't rely on humans. That's basically what it is.
So basically turning the paper contracts into codes that can self-execute, making them a bit more smarter, kind of detecting, like the conditions, making sure that, like they're more digitized. Because one of the issues we had in, in our global financial systems and even other industries, we didn't really trust in technology. We didn't really trust going digital. So a lot of financial industries were still very manual. They were still very centralized. Same goes with the legal side, very manual, very centralized. And in this case, Ethereum came up with an idea where it was actually changing the whole game ball and telling that, can we actually have self-executing smart contracts? So when the conditions are met, it can execute on its own. So in this case, you can, let's say it was a land title, it will execute on their own. Once the contract is set, it will behave in that manner as it's been coded. And in Ethereum, Ether is the fuel of that ecosystem. So just like if, let's say, you want to use AWS, you need to have AWS points. Let's say you want to watch YouTube Premium, you need to subscribe to YouTube. Or let's say same goes for Spotify or whatsoever. So you need to kind of, in this case on Ethereum, you use Ether as the fuel on the Ethereum network. So every time somebody wants to use smart contract, they have to spend Ether. So that becomes the demand side, why people would want Ether. And on the other hand, people can use Ether for payments, because let's say if tomorrow AWS allow you, okay, we have a global network, we have a global ecosystem, we have like thousands and thousands of people using AWS points. Now we just want to allow you to transfer the AWS points between each another. Or maybe we can talk about Alibaba. They can Alipay and maybe AliCloud can work together and say, okay, let's transfer these values with each other. And it can become automatically be also a payment system. And because the value is always fluctuating, people also made it into an investment system and build financial products around it. So it generally just started as a smart contract platform and an open source platform. So it is also performed of developing a lot of dApps on it. And one of the other innovations they had is they created a new form of virtual machine. I won't go into too much of detail in it, but just to say that instead where previously on Bitcoin, it just executed one line, one line, one line. It was like more slow. It didn't really execute things quickly. When EVM was introduced, it could actually execute much more code in shorter time. It was less expensive to execute them. So so Ethereum network was much faster than Bitcoin. And what happened was when Ethereum came out, people start to ask the questions like, now smart contracts is a huge like plus for businesses. If businesses and enterprise can adopt this, if the legal system can go online, I think a lot of lawyers actually will be much happier because now they can do consultation and they don't have to track about their contracts. A lot of lawyers, I think, in the futures will actually need to know about programming or need to know how to code their legal terms into smart contracts. Maybe that might be the future possibility of the legal industry. But a lot of industries was looking, how can we actually pick this up? But it didn't like some features of Ethereum because Ethereum was fully open, transparent. Everybody can see everything happening. You can see every single contract on Ethereum. All the details are fully shared, full transparency. So, but in the case of business, we have a lot of things that we want to protect. We want to protect who are our customers. We would want to protect who basically we are dealing with, what financial transactions we did, right? We cannot keep everything open. Let's say tomorrow I go on my business and put all my financial transaction on Ethereum, and they know who are the customers paying me. All my competitors, like in the software houses or in the academy or the consultancy businesses, will start reaching out to my customers and say, hey, I know how to give you this service for, let's say, $100. I can give you for 99 or 98 or 95. Drop the price and win the customer. So that is very risky for a lot of businesses to actually take in hand. So this is where Quorum came in. They said, can we take the Ethereum's functionality, add in more privacy, add in different ways where we can consent, because we want to kind of protect the data and the data residency. We want to kind of work with like the existing compliance like GDPR, protecting customers' data, and also kind of have permissions who can join in, because Ethereum is an open network. Anybody can go and download the Ethereum code and can download Ethereum software, download it to your PC, and be a participant in the Ethereum network. And you can see everything on the Ethereum network. But Quorum didn't want to do that. Quorum said, let's add a bit more privacy, make it more enterprise friendly, more business friendly, but we want what Ethereum has. So there where Quorum came in. So Quorum, I think I was actually looking into this quite early on. I think when they just started, like they were just a few months old. It was a very it was just like kind of a test Quorum did. They were like, okay, let's just try out if we can, if people will actually adopt a private version of Ethereum. And they just released it. They just released it on the GitHub, and then they had a website, version 1, not much information on it. They just say, okay, here's Quorum, go on your GitHub and learn how to basically get started. But people were very interested. A lot of businesses were like, okay, if because the name JP Morgan behind them really sell them. So just to go by the slide, Quorum is a fork of Ethereum, especially of the Go Ethereum client, to be specific. So they basically took the code of Ethereum, took it out, modified the consensus, modified the permission level, made it enterprise ready, but they kept it open source so more people can adopt it, improve it, and do more changes. And they address like few specific challenges, especially with the privacy, the speed, throughput, because Ethereum is slow is because it's fighting to protect itself against the whole world. It is checking everything double, triple time to make sure that nobody is trying to, attack it or add fake information. But in the case of Quorum, we can customize that. We can customize who can kind of do the decision making, who can just view it, who can actually verify the database. So in that case, when you can do that sort of customization, you can improve the speed. And then you also can decide who are the people you want to share your information with, and who are the people you would want to, leave out certain information from. So in this case, you get better speed, better privacy. And then when it was announced that it's actually been developed and maintained by JP Morgan, a huge financial bank, so it kind of boosted a lot of financial industries, banks, especially investment banks, started to look into new ways to use Quorum to kind of build their own financial products, their own kind of stock trading places, bond issuance platforms, and things like that. And it kind of like really exploded. And I think the last 2 years, Quorum rebranded. They have more bigger developer support. Their primary focus is still developers. That's the reason their slides are actually quite technical. And their focus is actually more application development at the moment. And in this case, on our side, as in Blocklime as well, we actually get a lot of requests for developing Quorum. That's the reason we would like to get more of their discussion here in Malaysia, because a lot of people ask us Quorum. They have very conflicting questions. They don't understand the difference between Quorum and Ethereum, and many other protocols. So that's the reason we actually even organize this. And the good thing about Quorum is it's also compatible with Ethereum. So if, let's say, I already had Ethereum developers, I can easily bring them from Ethereum to Quorum. They just need to learn few additional steps, and they actually are good to go and even develop on Ethereum. So that is why, and in this case, availability of developers is there. Because during the ICO boom, a lot of people started learning Ethereum development, Solidity development, Get. And after the boom, now people are looking towards enterprise technology development, and Quorum is in support. It's compatible with Ethereum development. Somebody asked me, do you need gas to run Quorum? No, you can set it. So it's a custom setting you can add in. So let's say if you want to set gas, you can set the gas in the technology and then deploy it. If you don't want to set gas, you can just put the gas to 0. But no gas will be expended because it's a private technology. You can decide if you want to have a gas for all your members to pay, then you can set it. If you don't want them to pay, just set the gas value to 0, and it can operate for free. All the transactions will be verified and executed for free. So then privacy capabilities, so in this case, like a core currency transaction must be public. Let's say if anybody is trying to create another Ether in Quorum, or kind of a core currency inside of that will be public. But you can kind of private your smart contracts, or you can create like certain transactions that are private. You can just add the parameter called private for in the contract, and you put the address, and you're already good to go to. So it's quite simple to basically create privacy. You don't have to do a lot of coding. You just have to call the private for parameter in the smart contract, and you put the address. And in this case, nobody else will see it. Only both of you will actually have the transaction. And the nodes of the involved transaction will only get the hash of the encrypted contracts. And private transactions are also stored separately on a private chain. So you will have like the main chain, which, let's say if you have a core currency, you introduce a core currency, it will be there. Or you introduce a core like smart contract, it will be there. But then you have a private kind of a chain at the side, which is like storing the private blocks of between you. Let's say if you did a private transaction between party A and party B. So in this case, both these parties are storing it. So in this case, what like among the solutions that has unique, the privacy solutions that are unique to Quorum. There's no dependency on central node or service to ensure privacy. A lot of the consensus are quite more towards decentralized consensus. So in this case, you will elect leaders and kind of do like some sort of round robin and choose leaders, which leaders can actually execute transactions. No dependency on external application to ensure privacy. So you don't need somebody else to come in and kind of encrypt it. Quorum itself have it. Single chain architecture. Chain contain both public and private transactions. So you have one structure and you have both. You don't have to do multi-layer solution for this. There were a lot of applications during that time trying to do like multi-chain. They had like multiple solutions. This chain is not talking to the other chain, or people start to build like parallel chains to do privacy conversations. Quorum has it inbuilt, so you don't have to code extra. You can just put in and invoke the function. Permissioning controls which nodes may connect to the node. You can decide which other people can connect, which other people can validate. Permissions are managed on node level. Every node you can decide what they can do, what are the things they can see, what are the things they can't see. Public key whitelist, so you can decide which keys can do transactions, which keys can't do it. smart contract based permissioning. In this case, you can go up and put in permissions and rules on the smart contract. Let's say you want certain people to not participate in the contract is private, or maybe it's public, but only certain people can enter in. You can put the parameters there that, let's say I want Jason out of this contract. Jason will be executed from this contract, for an example. So they have multiple consensus choices, among them Raft and Istanbul. Raft is more designed to be lightweight and crash tolerance. Istanbul follows PBFT kind of implementation. So I have a more brief example, but I will roughly go through them. So I think this information will be available. I'll provide the slides. And you can actually look into the documents and go in more detail. I'm trying to make sure that I don't run out of time. Lee Wilson asked if the private and free of the company servers, they use AWS to run nodes. You can use it on your own computer. You can run it on AWS. You can run it on AliCloud. You can even open like a droplet and put it up there. You can deploy it however you want. So Quorum will give you the open source code. You can pick it up, modify it, deploy it however you want. And you can deploy it even on AWS. And AWS also have their AWS managed by blockchain. AliCloud has their own blockchain as a service platform, where you can just go there, click few clicks, and you will actually get to know how to deploy your blockchain. And for AliCloud, we will be actually featuring them, and they will actually share how to actually start a blockchain network on AliCloud. So, and then Raft is more of a kind of a leader-based, high throughput, low latency kind of system, and they're usually a more fork prevention. They make sure that there's no breaking, or because like in the case of Bitcoin, there can be multiple forks, and then there's a time taken to actually get to detect which are the forks that we want to accept and which is the forks we're going to reject. And when the majority has decided that this is the one, you go with it. So you can see over the time, there's actually so many fork attempts where certain part of the community or certain pools are just moving in too fast. But in Raft, that doesn't happen. It is a leader system. In this case, everybody take a chance to kind of verify it. So the system won't have forks. It will prevent the forks from happening, ensuring transaction finality. So once the transaction is added in, there it is. We're not going to look at the transaction again. So in this case, in the case of Bitcoin, you can always drop back and redo a transaction, remine it. In the case of Ethereum, same thing again. But in Raft, no. You put in finality, this is it is. If you want to do anything, you basically need to do another settlement later. Let's say you accidentally sell money, you do a settlement afterwards. Or you have other ways to ensuring the transaction to, to be undone. You need to put other mechanism. Istanbul BFT, Byzantine fault tolerance, if people are wondering what BFT is. I won't go into the details, but it's basically also a much faster consensus network. I think this comparison chart will do much justice to both of them. So Istanbul, hard forks, yes, it can have hard forks. It can have, because it doesn't, it's behaving more like proof of work, but not exactly. Fault tolerance, then you're moving down to dynamic membership, yes, both of them have it. And transaction speed, you can see they're almost there. But I believe Raft has a bit faster. This is something that, this is the information that I got from online. But if you decide to optimize your codes on Raft, you can even go up to like 1,500, because we did some internal testing, we were getting 2,000. And when they went to production, you can easily get 2,000 plus transactions, which is very good already. A lot of the fintech players, we actually build applications for fintech players that actually quite fast. It was almost like doing a touch and go transaction, but it was already settled, and all the accounts are already settled at the back as well. So peer management, you can do management for every single node. You can set what are the permission for every single node, and you can write them in a JSON file, and basically the program will look for the JSON file and detect what to do with every single peer that has connected to the PC to the protocol. So I think a lot of people will be wondering, you said it's not going to be very technical. but it got very technical until here already. I'm trying not to go more technical after this. So I promise I'm trying not to go too, but there were some of the things that is required for you to know that there are multiple consensus systems. It is basically have its own private structures. You can do private smart contracts transactions. You can do private transaction for your financial whatever. Let's say you introduce a USD on it, you can do that, and you can customize who can join your network, and you can customize who can see it. In the case of Quorum, in this case, you will be able to have full control on how you want to develop. So let's say tomorrow, if you and a bunch of companies want to get together and kind of solve a problem, it can be in the logistic, it can be in financial, or it can be in money changing. You can all get together and decide what are the conditions, what are the terms you want to work on, and build a contract on a Quorum network, deploy it, and just let it execute. In this case, you can even every time just go in and do a transaction and it's self-executing at the back. So that is what I'm trying to get in. Benefits is confidential. It is much more secure. It has advanced encryption techniques. It has a few more encryption libraries, but generally it's quite similar to Ethereum. It's decentralized. In the terms of it is not as decentralized as Ethereum, but it's decentralized enough for a community of group businesses or business groups to actually kind of have a kind of trust level being created between themselves. You don't have to be very decentralized for everything. You have to be just decentralized enough where you can achieve trust in whatever you're trying to do or whatever use case you have. In terms of community, they have a very big growing community, and they're also part of the Ethereum Enterprise Alliance, which is a community focused on building standards. So a lot of their standards, a lot of things that are developed on Quorum are compatible with Ethereum and are compatible with multiple other blockchains, especially the members of Enterprise Ethereum's Alliance. And it has been proven productive since 2015. Quorum's underlying protocol is normal and stressed environments. Actually, even us, we have tested it multiple times. It's actually proven to be quite resilient. And even in high loads, we actually thrown in a lot of for testing. We thrown in a lot of transactions. We wrote program to basically really stress test it. It was quite. It actually hold on quite good, more than what we actually expected. So and it is actually privacy. You can look into. They have private smart contracts, transactions, zero knowledge layer, finality. In simple terms, they have no chain forking transactions, no transaction reversal. So once it's set in, it's over there. Performance. You can go up with very high TPS comparing to most public blockchains, and block time is like usually less than 50 milliseconds. You can actually set the block time. If you want it longer, you can set it up as well. It's customizable. Permissioning, no peers only. In this case, if you all the people you know only can join it, you have to invite people to join in. If you set up a private network, nobody knows you have a network. They can't find the network. People need to first know that you have a network. They have to be invited in. They have to be whitelisted. Then they can join in. Built into and permissionings are built into protocol. So from smart contract to payment layers, they are all you can set permissioning on multiple layers. So if you're wondering what can I build on it, so in simple terms, private blockchains are useful when you have an organization or a problem that consists of one, you're distributed. A lot of banks are having issue that like a lot of banks between the banks also they have a problem, because let's say if you have Bank A in Malaysia trying to settle like a transaction with Bank B, Bank A as well in Singapore, let's say. Like let's say it's Maybank, let's say for example, from here to Maybank Singapore. In this case, even between the bank, they have multiple internal processes of verification, validation, and like every time a transaction happens, they don't have proper shared databases. It takes even sending money from the same bank to another bank, the same bank in Singapore, so much of time and so much of process. And often they actually execute the transaction first, but there's still backlog work, documentation that haven't finished that have to be done and settled later. There are also even certain cases like that. So when you are geographically distributed members, how can you kind of build the trust? How can you bring in more efficiency? How can you kind of automate more processes? So let's say in this case, let's say this both bank was on the same system, on a blockchain system. all of them had their cash kind of holded on the same system. The settlement will be automatically done on that. The smart contracts will be built on the network as well. The users are on the same system as well. So in this case, let's say I'm sending from here to there. If verify this user exists, this person exists, it will be automatically verified by the system. Just do the settlement. So a process that might take 3 to 4 days for, let's say, if it's a letter of credit or any of that kind of application, it might just take maybe 20 minutes, 30 minutes, or an hour to do that kind of transaction. So you can rapidly reduce the amount of time needed for it, and maybe in just few hours. So in this case, it's much better for the people who are geographically distributed and they want to reduce the inefficiencies. Then you have trust issues, because a lot of times, even in between banks or any financial institute or supply chains, people don't want to be the person who screws up. They always want to be the person who like got everything in order. So in this case, there's always a trust issue. You're like, can I trust the other guy? So in this case, you can actually kind of remove the barrier and decide to kind of trust more on the system, build an application where everybody is part of, everybody know what are the rules of that particular of that system, and you only can do that particular stuff in that system. So in that case, nothing beyond that. So nobody have extra power over the system. Everybody has kind of fair play. No reasons and need for central code. So in this case, you don't need like one boss telling you everything in the case. So if a lot of processes, actually, you don't need the major management to come in and ask you to do things. A lot of times, the day-to-day activities and processes are actually the same repeating tasks that actually mostly the operating team can actually do it on their own. So in this case, if you can actually build that operational layers for all these areas that are having inefficiencies, especially in the supply chain, asset management, financial, banking, real estate, all these areas, if they can just clear the operational area first, we can actually speed up a lot of our business and the speed of our economy. With the above conditions met, some of the other things we build on Quorum are, you can see like that, asset, supply chain systems, multi-party organizations. You can build consortiums where they can decide. Like in Thailand, there's a consortium of banks being developed on R3. I think during the R3, they will discuss more about it. And they were kind of fed up with a lot of this interbanking solutions. They were not really efficient. They said, okay, we're going to build a blockchain between ourselves and do interbanking. So let's say I want to send from Maybank to CIMB here in Malaysia, for example. I can use the blockchain. I don't need another interbanking solution to do the settlement. It is just, it's going to happen on a blockchain. It's going to be much efficient, much faster. Real-time audit. So in the case of a lot of the fintech players using blockchain as their backend today, they have real-time audit. In this case, the system is doing the verification at one time, and then and it's protecting the database from being hacked. And at the same time, you actually can even write backend codes to make sure that all the audits are being recorded as well. So the audits are being automated for you. Operational transparency, you have data integrity. So in this case, the data integrity is much more. No central party can go and hack it and change it. So the integrity of the database is much more. So the auditing result is much more accurate. So in this case, the only auditing, a lot of the auditing job will be there is basically just to make sure the numbers are right. And a lot of the time, once the systems start to be more and more reliable, maybe in future, we don't even have to do that anymore because the system has performed it really well and there's no more bugs. And now you can trust the system to do the auditing for you. So in the case of Bitcoin, there's no auditors. So financial services, cross-bank, I'll say in a way the Bitcoin auditors are the public because they're transparent. Everybody else can look into it. But mainly there's nobody sitting down and writing every single transfer and calculating if it really went through. So in who's building on Quorum today is mainly banks and financial services. You have IIN, cross-banking blockchain data exchange between 400 plus banks. JPM Coin, there is a big like a news when JP Morgan said that they're going to issue their own coins, especially for transaction between banks and managing their assets. Project Ubin, they're actually exploring between multiple vendors, but Quorum is also one of them. They're also doing their, I believe they did their, one of the people who went in for pilot, I believe. I'm not so sure they went for the pilot. I have to check more with the Quorum team. Supply chain, then you can look into supply chains, everything from luxury good, gold bar, industry, medicine, healthcare products, like food, drugs, even like today, if let's say if I want to check if like my food product is not coming from COVID infected spaces, I have no way to check it. I just have to accept it and hope to the luck that everything will be good. But let's say if I wanted in future to, if I had a blockchain supply chain, a global blockchain for a supply chain that actually is like well adopted, the standards are well adopted, everybody is using a common communication protocol, and everybody is on this blockchain system. And I wanted to track that which particular stuff is coming from the infected areas, or which particular stuff might be spoiled, or which particular stuffs that like we should stop from supplying to the market because of high health risks, for example, and where have they been. The traceability of the product becomes very easy, because now where previously we had a system where you had person A's database talking to person B's database, and then person B database talking to person C's database, person C's database talking to person D's database, and there is in between that their database doesn't really talk about doesn't communicate as well. So you have a lot of times where the information stops. There's no information sharing, and all of them, the only A and B talks to each other, B and C talks to each other. The only connection is this person B in between, but the B is not sharing C's information to A, and A is not sharing his information to C. So there is like kind of a breakage in total information sharing here. But in the case of blockchain, everybody are sharing as much of information they need. And let's say if we want to build a proper tracking system with keeping privacy in mind, let's say we don't want our competitors to know that the product is what we are selling, how much we are selling for, whatsoever. But we want the end consumer to know that this product is safe to be consumed and it went through the right channels and it's a genuine product. We can do that through blockchain, and we can do that through Quorum as well. So these are some of the articles that are picked up. So there's a plan to what they call tokenize 1 trillion loan market on Quorum. There's a digital gold payments on Quorum. There's blockchain. Deloitte is looking into supply chain platform to be developed on Quorum as well. There's Shell and BP looking towards energy trading platforms, because a lot of times, let's say when we talk about petroleum trading, sometimes we can settle in between of the petroleum assets itself, or we don't have to settle in cash transactions. So a lot of companies are looking into how can we use asset trading instead of cash settlements, because cash settlement also comes with another drawback, because there's a processing time plus fees that you have to worry about. Then you have Louis Vuitton looking into tracking their luxury good. There's a lot of fake product. There's a lot of knockoff Louis Vuitton shoes and like bags out there. So they kind of want to put tags on it and make sure that when it goes through their supply chain, nobody is really trying to tamper. Because even in cases, there were cases where like in certain luxury departments, they don't know they were selling counterfeit items, even themselves. There were cases that people actually counterfeited in between of the supply chain. I'm not talking Louis Vuitton, but there were a few examples like that as well. And then I'm coming towards the end of my presentation because I see the time is running out. But how, for the developers that is watching right now, how to get started is actually quite simple. I will suggest to do it via cloud. If let's say your first time, you're not learning how, you don't want to jump into the mumbo jumbo of programming, you can start it either on the cloud. Maybe you can just go up and use Microsoft Azure, or on IBM. IBM doesn't have it yet. On Microsoft Azure, or in Ali Cloud, on AWS, with a bunch of clicks. Just try to start a new Quorum network. Decide what is the consensus you want, what are the permissions you want. Try to deploy some smart contracts, and they already have some test smart contracts available. Try to deploy them. And and once you're successful there, maybe you can move on to try different programs and different applications on that. And I will also, if you're still new in that, you're not confident that you can actually start doing it, because AWS and they have test accounts, but they start charging after for a while. Yeah. So if you create any of these accounts, any of these services, you make sure you close them back after testing, because if not, they'll charge your card. So So in this case, I think Jason had a hard way of learning the process before, I think.
No. Haven't arrived at 1 year yet. Haven't yet.
Okay.
But very mindful.
Okay. No, I actually accidentally paid some extra money as well before. So that's the reason I'm actually giving the warning ahead. Just for testing out, I actually had paid it before. So no worries. So I'll say that is one of the ways. Number two, you actually can join in, go up to Quorum's blogs and information. So if you go to Go Quorum, where's the thing? I don't know what I'm typing. Sorry, my screen is too small for me to see. I have like multiple screens set up. Yeah. Yeah. So you can go onto the website. They have a section called for developers. You can click on that, and then you can go down, and they will talk about the benefits of Quorum and some of the new things. So Quorum Visit is they recently announced. Let's say if you don't want to launch it on a cloud structure, you actually can launch it using Quorum Visit. You can actually go up onto their GitHub and write some codes on npm and have a quick install, and you can actually easily set up a Quorum network. There you can see the codes are already here for developers. Then Cake Shop it's like a explorer. So in this case, like Ethereum, for the people who don't know, as I was saying earlier, that everything on Ethereum, it's actually everything on Ethereum is actually public. You can actually go up and view. So I'm actually very proud to say that one of the largest Ethereum explorer in the world is actually a Malaysian company, Etherscan from Kota Kemuning. And if anybody wants to see any transactions happening or being verified or what are things happening on Ethereum, you actually can go up and check here. So when I was talking about being fully transparent, this is what I meant. But in the case of in Quorum, there is their own explorer that you can customize and you can share with your members called Cake Shop. And you can go for developers, you can go up and check that out as well. And please check out their releases. And we are also planning to run some events here in Malaysia, which are going to be more technical, focused towards how do you start coding and programming on Quorum. And stay tuned to Blocklime's future events. And maybe you also, if you're already subscribed to Bitcoin Malaysia and Blocklime, I think you will definitely get access to our future events, the information for our future events. And we also will have courses and trainings talking about Quorum and Quorum development in the future. So stay tuned for that as well. So if you are planning to reach out to Quorum, these are the site. Go Quorum, their website, their Slack, GitHub, and their Meetup. We will also announce the future meetups in Malaysia on the meetup.com. So I think that's all from me. Thank you. I think, Jason, if you have any other questions. Yeah.
Okay. let me do a recap. All right. Thank you so much, okay, for the presentation. Wow. That was really good. Okay. First and foremost, okay, personally, I got a lot of takeaways today. Thank you for the one obedient student, the study group in the football game, okay, example, to basically build up towards the point, okay, that where we're heading to, okay, building game theoretic, okay, systems, where computers actually work with each other, right?
Yes.
And another thing, okay, that I think it will be a fantastic takeaway for people is to actually realize, okay, what blockchain looks like under the hood. Okay, it's not one thing, but it is a technology stack. So to summarize, okay, today is the first day of Enterprise Blockchain Week. So a lot of emphasis has been placed on the fundamentals, okay, and I hope that those who are beginners, okay, took away that blockchains are shard ledgers that are tamper resistant, okay. Not all blockchains are designed the same, but what blockchain is all about is creating game theoretic computer systems so that we don't need to rely on it's faster, it's more efficient, and we can trust transactions, we can trust better. Then Harpreet shared with us, okay, what is Ethereum? Ethereum is one of the largest blockchain protocols in the world because it allows people to write computer codes, call smart contracts, and then record it on a blockchain, and which is self-executing. And then again, you don't need to rely on people, and you have this transparency. And then he went on to explain Quorum, okay, which can do what Ethereum does, but it has additional privacy features. And as a person who is building on top of, say, Quorum, you can also create smart contracts. But unlike, okay, like for example in Etherscan, where you can view all the transactions, okay, in Quorum, something that is built on top of Quorum, you can actually have it private, and you can assign, okay, different kind of people to have the different access to what kind of data. But bro, if there is one thing, okay, that you could share with us, right? One favorite use case of Quorum, what would that be?
I think at the moment I will say that I'll say JPM coin actually at the moment is will be one of the biggest use case, and because in a way you're basically holding multi-billion dollars of financial assets and you're allowing people to easily trade. And I think maybe in future they'll also give out better access to people to go in and invest into systems, into financial products. And I think there'll be one of the huge use cases that are being developed on Quorum. And I also see a lot of people using it for, especially to build like certificates, to build like educational certificates. They're building it on Quorum, and also I'll see a lot of it for financial and fintech use, especially for fintech companies who are trying to build e-wallets, especially for remittance problems in the Middle East, in Africa, because they can't subscribe to huge, expensive fintech solutions from from the large corporate players, and they don't have the access to that. They would like to reduce their operation, their operational costs, and and also get the benefits of blockchain. So in this case, I see there's an explosion in terms of fintech players, especially small fintech players in the MENA region, because they have huge financial, a lot of unbanked people, plus with a lot of expensive financial transactions. So I'll see that a lot of innovation started to happen in that direction. And then also insurance use cases, there has been quite good, especially towards providing automated insurances, especially towards there are companies that are looking into also doing auto refunds. Let's say if my product doesn't reach to you in this particular time, I want to automatically refund to you. So we write a contract, you put in your funds in the contract. When I deliver in time, I basically get the money, and when I don't deliver in time, it's automatically refunded. So there are many really good use cases that are being developed out there. It's very hard to choose one among the best. But if you look into this list here, there's a Medium article that was actually written by Matt, our common friend. There are 50 plus projects that are built on Quorum, and you actually can go through and read them. They're actually really good. Institutional, supply chain, healthcare, media, game, government, digital identity, and the list goes on. There are many use cases that are actually being developed. I think you can share this up. Yeah. So
Okay.
So the list is like huge in terms of the things that is being developed on Quorum.
Okay. So before we go into the questions, because there's a lot of questions, okay, that have been asked, and they're really, really good questions, right? Today we covered, okay, blockchain fundamentals, we covered Ethereum, we covered Quorum, but Quorum is one example of a private permissionless blockchain, correct? In the next 6 days, we're going to actually see a lot more different, okay, private permissionless blockchains, right? So what can the attendees expect to get, okay, over the next 6 days? Can you share a little bit?
So I mean, today Quorum is just one part of the discussion, because this is one of the ways you can actually implement a solution for your enterprise. Let's say you wanted to build a use case or a startup or a new set of technologies or application to kind of like improve your business models and things like that. So you don't want to leave at like half of the picture, right? So in this case, you definitely want to know is what are the strengths and benefits of Hyperledger? What are the strengths and what are the pros and cons of the other ecosystems? Because Hyperledger comes in, it's an umbrella of projects. Every project has like a different strengths and weaknesses, and they are solving different problems. Like some are specific towards identity, some are specific towards data management, some are specific towards financial transactions. So in this case, in supply chain, so they have like a different way of approaching this problem and providing solution towards enterprise solution. Then when it comes towards Corda, they also have a different way of they are focused more towards consortium blockchains and fintech solutions. And in, let's say if you're looking towards financial solution, Quorum and R3 will be like more closely related. But Quorum is more open source. They are open. R3 sit on their position. They sit on a more premium position. They have more services. They may have more support, but they are built on Java and a different structure. So I think we'll hear more from R3 on why they took that approach and why they decided to focus on that segment of the industry and why are they solving it in that manner. So in this case, every single protocol have their strengths, their weaknesses, the areas that they're focusing on, the areas that they can support you. So by the end of the 7 days, you want to see what will be, if let's say you want to look into blockchain, if you want to learn blockchain, if you want to build something on it, or you just want to know about it, what are the differences between them? Which should be the one suitable for your use case? Because you can build on every single one, but they might not be the good technology stack to support your use case. And maybe it's not even suitable towards what you're trying to develop or what you're trying to build. And also at the same time to demystify, a lot of these concepts. Because I often get people asking me question, hey, Happy, where can I buy Quorum token? And I'm like, if you see a Quorum token out there for investment, that's a scam. because they're almost, I'll say that everybody except Hedera Hashgraph, there is no token. Hedera Hashgraph had an ICO. Everybody else are organized by well-invested large enterprises, and they actually have the money to build the solution. The only way you want to invest into their whatever they are doing is buying their stocks, which are listed on the public markets. So in this case, only one who did an ICO was Hedera Hashgraph. So there's no token for Quorum. There's you can't invest into this. The focus of this technology stacks and this discussion of this week is basically build for developers. Look this place as an alternative place for you to find jobs, because there's a lot of new job openings in this area. It's a high growth sector. It has a lot of new job requirements with bloated salaries at the moment. There are a lot of people, because the demand is huge. The salary premium is quite good at the moment. And plus they are open for you to work from anywhere in the world, because most of the talent is quite distributed. You can't get like everybody in Malaysia or everybody in India. You need to kind of find people everywhere and kind of have a more open distributed team as well. So most of the teams and blockchain companies are quite distributed. They don't prefer to centralize their company operation as well. For developers, look into that area. For businesses, look into, see if this is the place where you can innovate in. And for everybody else, for enthusiasts who are learning in it, know more about it. Don't get scammed. I think these are the best way to summarize the 7 days.
So before I go and take up questions, really excited for what we have coming up in the next week. So today we have covered Quorum. Tomorrow I'm excited to explore a blockchain protocol which is by probably one of the largest. Is it related to Alibaba Group, bro? N-Chain?
I believe so. Actually, I'm not that sure. As well as what I know, Jack Ma is like one of the the founder as well. I believe Alibaba Group and Ant Financial have some close relations, but they are separate organization. And the common figure, I believe, is Jack Ma. But I have never did my big research in this, so I would correct me if you're wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comment section below.
Yeah. Right. So come back, tomorrow at the same time, 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. For the N-Chain session. Right. Also, after the N-Chain session, if you are an enthusiast in cryptocurrency, we are doing a free webinar on the topic of cryptocurrency adoption. Okay, it's just a 1 hour casual thing with Luke Jones, our friend, okay, from Australia. He's going to basically share more, okay, insights, okay, of where we were, okay, where we are now, and where are we going. All right. So the information will be on our Facebook group soon, okay, for this webinar. Just come up, right? And last but not least, okay, thank you for attending today. Here's how you're going to get your your unique proof of attendance NFT token. The first thing, okay, that you need to do is you need to fill in this feedback form, which I'm going to paste in the group right now.
So
You need to fill up this feedback form, okay, in order, okay, for us to what's that send you, okay, the NFT token. The second thing that you need is you need an Ethereum wallet address. So you could use your MetaMask wallet address, or basically any Ethereum wallet address also can receive. But what I
yeah,
recommend, okay, is the Trust wallet, okay, because the interface is easy to use, is nice. Okay, download the Trust wallet, create a Ethereum wallet address, and then put it, okay, at the end of the wallet address. I like to
yeah,
also note, okay, that this is uh, there is an expiry date to when you can claim this token, because it is a proof of attendance. Only people who have attended until the end will actually see this. Okay, and you are given up to tomorrow, a cutoff time of 6 p.m. tomorrow, to submit the thing, because by midnight tomorrow the it will expire. Okay, so do take action. Okay, quick, fill out the feedback form, let us know. Okay, and yeah, right now I'm going to go and take questions. I'm going to leave this slide on, and we're going to take the questions right now. Okay, we're going to take people's questions right now. Wait, we're not done yet.
yeah.
Let's
Sorry,
see.
we're getting a lot of calls and messages at the moment. So
Yeah.
yeah. Actually,
Uh. Hmm.
yeah, sorry. Yeah, actually, this
So
is a really interesting use case for lecturers who want to make sure that the student goes to class. You give a unique attendance token every day they attend to class. So in this case, if they like kind of like maybe like it can be in a way a benefit for them to come in, or a way to track if they actually really came to class. But a lot of people still use the signing method, right? So you sign for people. A lot of times people just sign in for somebody else. There are many ways to go around university attendance. Like it's a way. By the way, this token is also tradable. Yeah, you actually can trade this token.
uh, I would not advise against it, because this is supposed to be a proof of attendance token. All right.
Yes.
So, and remember, everything is tracked on the blockchain. So when you receive this token, okay, it is proof that you attended it, right? Your wallet address. If you transfer it out, it you are say, why would you transfer out, okay, a proof of attendance token?
No,
And
I
then
mean,
if you actually did that,
let's say 10 years from down the road, Quorum became really huge and they really wanted to know, and the collectible value is high. People want to trade it. Why not, right?
can. That one
Yeah, so
can.
yeah, it's like collecting, like playing cards and things like that, and it actually having its own trading market. If you go on to, if you use Trust Wallet, I would recommend to use Trust Wallet. You can click on it and you can click trade, but I wouldn't recommend it because I'm not so sure if anybody wants to buy it at the moment. Yeah,
So I'm attaching, okay, the feedback form already into the group right now. Okay, fill in the form. Okay, now we're going to go through the questions. All right. Okay. Let's see. I think, okay, the first question, okay, that they ask, okay, is like use case for logistics, bro. Okay, can you give an example for use case for logistics industry of
use case.
permission private blockchains?
I
What
think there,
problems can it solve?
I think there were good numbers of use cases. I think I'm going to refer what Matt wrote earlier as well. But I just while it's loading, I think like among the good ones that I've seen is like letter credit systems, tracking like financial, like your assets. Like one of the one, a lot of these fraud cases happen in, especially in China. I got this use case from China, where people are like producing assets. Let's say this is chicken eggs. They produce this chicken eggs this week. then they get financing from the bank to basically distribute and sell and package and move this chicken egg to the market. And then later, once they do this, then they should be producing the next batch and getting a new financing on that, and the following batch after that. But what happened is, a lot of times what these people will do, or this particular company will do, they will come in, they produce one batch of chicken eggs, or maybe they buy it from somewhere. They say that we need money, loans for this particular chicken eggs to be financed. So they will apply from bank A, B, C, D, E, apply all the loans. Maybe A, B, and C give them. They got 3 loans. They, basically don't sell the chicken eggs. The next month again, they show, okay, I need more money to basically sell this. They apply for another set of banks. Then they keep doing the fraud multiple times until they have big enough money to run away. So in this case, the asset that you're actually financing for is not being traced. Other than that, there is one problem. Then at the same time, we have counterfeit products, right? We even have eggs that basically, there was actually produced by this batch of distributors. But there's also sometimes some people will come in and put in their own brand of eggs, but with different brand label. Or let's say like in case of Milo and things, there's always people coming in, kind of jumping into the supply chain, putting in new batch of Milos or eggs or things like that, and they have counterfeited. And sometimes they also put in eggs that are not fresh. Maybe they have been sitting in their warehouse for a long time. They just send it out to the supply chain. It's very hard to track when people are moving in large quantities, that which particular eggs are fresh and which are not. So in this case, there are some of the use cases. So if let's say we can track every single box of eggs or every single individual egg, it looks like a very tedious process, but actually there is a process. We are working on it, and I think there are multiple other companies doing something similar as well. There are people tracking wines. There are people tracking like fish, tuna, and all that particular assets, and even durians. I think one of the biggest use cases from Malaysia is people tracking durians. People are trying to, because there's a lot of counterfeited durians, and the governments are asking, how can we believe that you are Musang King? Please track all the way till the tree. Can you actually get us the information for tracking the tree?
I remember this one. Last year, the government announced that we got new export quota to China for Musang King, but they are worried that fellow Malaysians will cheat and give different kind of grade other than Musang King for this. So this is something that comes on.
Yeah, so now how do you track back this, right? So let's say if like this one particular tree, it has its own unique ID, that this tree is tree hash blah 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 blah, and that tree can only produce like, I'm not sure how many durians on one tree. Let's say it's 20. Only 20 can be produced, but suddenly 500 came from that one tree. Not possible, then that's too much already for that one harvesting time. So let's say only 20 can come from that. So you can tag this as the child durians of this tree. So you can track that this durian came from Jason's farm in JB, and now it's basically moved from here to the transporter from JB to, let's say, shipment in Klang, or maybe to Pasir Gudang, and from there you basically shipped it out to Hong Kong, and from Hong Kong it went distributed to which area. So it can track every single place, and it can verify the origins all the way back. But every single person in the way doesn't have to know it. They don't need to have the complete information. They just need to be able to verify that is it valid or not. They don't have to know that it was actually Jason's durian. They just have to know, is it Musang King? And in this case, the system itself can verify that this is Musang King. So I think that has been one of a really good use case, especially for tracking. And once you can do that for one supply chain, you can do that for multiple other supply chains, but you have to play and change the rules a bit and adjust and customize it for every single supply chain. And then you can do the financing. Let's say now you already have the durians, you already know where the durian is coming from, you know that this many durian, demand is there. Can you set up a contract? Can I set up a smart contract of how much of demand these Hong Kong companies want to buy? And then once I supply, automatically the payment received to me. And I also, once the assets has been supplied to them, so I can even have smart contract. And now maybe I need money to do the shipment. Can I actually even put banks inside and say, okay, I need to do these transfers, I need to do all this, I need to bear the logistics and costs. Can you actually fund me or you can you invest into me, can you give me a loan, for example. So in this case, you can take the loan, and the loan is verified because the demand, the supply, the traceability of it, the contract, every single thing is verifiable on the blockchain, and now you can easily give a loan towards that particular project, or that particular trade. And maybe we even think one step further. What if we even open up the investment opportunity to the public? We assetize the loan and we allow people to do micro investment into it. So I can invest into the durian supply chain, and now I can even build products like durian supply chain futures or durian tokens or things like that. So it opens up a whole new possibility of people trying to innovate in that area. So I'll say in the supply chain side, the opportunities are huge. Then you can even build insurance. Let's say the durian rich on the space was not valid, or they basically got lost in shipment, or maybe the ship crash. Can we do immediate settlement of insurance on that particular contract immediately? So we can put that in the contract itself, insurance by this particular company, and this is the amount of premium, and this is the insurance that the settlement if lost. And the shipment is also up there. When shipment say the shipment lost, we cannot pay, please recover. Insurance automatically reimburse the people who lost money in that case, and according to the contract. So the whole supply chain use case is huge, and I'll say that's I think I gave a long answer for this question already. Let's move on to the next one.
All right. So, okay, we have a question from Lo. He asks, how can we know a block has been tampered? Is it possible that, a block, has been tampered years back and then we don't know about it?
The link will not be same anymore because it will not connect all the way till the beginning. So every block in the blockchain has to be connecting all the way till the genesis block. So if anywhere in the blockchain somebody tried to tamper it, basically the link will break. So if a block being tampered all the way, the links will not work anymore in the data structure. So you will basically know that block has been the blockchain has been tampered with already.
Okay. Yeah. Now, so it's verifiable. Got it.
Yes.
So we have a lot of questions from our friend Lee Wilson. Okay. The first question he asks is that, so Quorum, is it a fork from Ethereum, or is it that they took the code and then they written and they modified the code of Ethereum?
Yeah, fork is basically telling you just because here in the crypto community we have a different terminology for fork, because in crypto community there's a fork of codes plus fork of community as well. But in the case of the fork that mentioned for Quorum, it means is they just took the code, they just copied the code, modified it, and deployed it in their own version.
Right.
So It's not the crypto community fork where you have Ethereum Classic and all the other stuff. There's not a community split. It is just another code deployment.
How old is, so if it's a brand new deployment, how old is the chain? How old is the Quorum chain? Do you know?
It's since 2015.
Okay.
It's been since 2015. So it's been it's 5 years already.
I have a personal question, which is just now back then you were saying, that one of the use cases for Quorum is that university certificates, right?
Yeah.
Issuing university certificates. My question is, why would universities need a permission blockchain for this use case? Why can't they use something like Ethereum for this use case?
They can use Ethereum, but then they have to pay gas, right? So in this case, they were not only looking towards just the university certificates, but they were looking into also balancing the credit scores. And because we always have this challenge when universities are students are trying to move between universities, they have to balance out their credits and their credits management. They have to go up and fill up these huge forms and try to negotiate to get lesser hours or lesser courses in the next university. So that's a huge hassle right now. So it is not only just the certificate verification, that is one layer, but I would say one of the main use case was the credit in between the university settlement. How can they settle? Let's say if in this case, what it will give is, it will give every student an opportunity to go out, try out this university. I don't like the university. I don't like the behavior. Or I don't like the environment. I can easily switch to another university and continue my education in another university. University
Oh,
hopping becomes much easier, because now whenever let's say I'm doing course here in University A and I want to go to University B, and the course structures are very different. There is no proper standard on how we want to really manage all this course, the credit management in between them. And sometimes you have to negotiate down and like try to see to like with the person who's actually doing your registration to give you better like a credit score. So in this case, you actually spend lesser time in that university. You don't have to take additional subjects to cover the credit.
can you give a very quick explanation, okay, to the beginners out there? What is gas? Isn't gas just transaction fee? Like, for example, when I make a Bitcoin transaction, I need to incur some fee to pay the miners. Isn't gas the same thing?
Yeah, I mean, the gas is basically the same thing. So let's say if you want to use AWS, you have to spend AWS points, right? So in this case,
Yeah.
whatever you top up over there. So when you want to use other people's resource, you should pay them. So in
Yeah.
this case, in the case of Ethereum, you're using other people's resources, right? So you're using the open network's resources. Your code can be running anywhere on somebody's mining machine or somebody's computer. So you should have to pay them for actually lending out their computer so the ecosystem can
Right.
continue to run. But if let's say you're running it on your own private network, you're running it on between you and your friends, or maybe
You don't need to
between
pay
you and
gas.
you don't have to pay gas. You don't have to put that in the feature. So in this case, you can say you are contributing your server, I'm contributing my server. Why should we pay? Why should we add in a gas inside of it? In this case, we just set up that all these people, all these permission people can join in, and they don't have to pay these fees. The fees is zero. That we won't basically charge anything. So in this case, we already decide who will be running the service, who will be doing the verification and validation.
We are already like 12 minutes past, okay, but I think that let's answer 3 more questions, okay,
Yeah.
and then we can give it a close. Okay, the first question, okay, is are you going to launch Hybrid token or not? Somebody wants to buy Hybrid token. No, I'm just okay. All right. Okay, sorry. Okay, so one question, okay, here is that it's not related to the topic today, but what's your view of Ethereum 2.0?
Okay. I think it definitely for kind of to achieving the Ethereum's vision, Vitalik's vision, he have to actually have much faster speed. He need to have much faster settlement time. He need to have much better code reliability. So in this case, it makes total sense for me why he would want to go towards Ethereum 2.0, because when they first started, they were looking into the idea of a financial value plus a kind of a global computing system, right?
Yeah.
But then later on, after the community of ETC and Ethereum and Ethereum Classic kind of split out, Ethereum Classic was like the major people who wanted Ethereum to behave like Bitcoin, more like a value exchange, and focus more on the value or the monetary value of the Ether, and use it more towards the investment side. But where it goes towards the Vitalik side, he would want more applications, more dApps, more computers. If you want more of applications to build up there, you need better experience, better speeds, better performance. You need to reduce the cost of every single programming. So Ethereum 2.0 is a way of achieving the vision that Vitalik had. And also at the same time, there's so many other competitions that are actually bringing in really good innovations in this space. So if in this case, if Ethereum stick on how they are right now, in the next few years, they might be an obsolete dApp and smart contract platform comparing to many others that are already out there. So Ethereum 2.0 way is a way for them to modify, upgrade themselves, and their option is to constantly updating themselves. Their vision is that way. They don't want to be like Bitcoin. Bitcoin have to be stable. Bitcoin have to preserve people's investment value. They are meant to be a kind of a digital cash, a digital gold, a financial system. But Ethereum is meant to be a world computer. That's the vision of Vitalik. So I think that's my views on it.
All right. Last question, okay, from the group, okay, which is I think you already have a fan, Hybrid, because he says that if he wanted to attend, okay, training, okay, Quorum specific training, does Blockline is Blockline planning any upcoming training?
So we're actually kind of gauging the demand for most of this enterprise solution. A lot of the trainings that we get are usually private, where like companies request to do private Quorum training or private Hyperledger training. So we go up and do that and host for them. But publicly, we did one Hyperledger training. The demand wasn't for good, but we haven't tested out a Quorum training before. So if let's say we have a good demand, we would actually do it. Maybe maybe you can, if people who are interested, maybe they can reach out to us
Put it
and
on the
say,
feedback form.
or put it on the
Put it in the
feedback
feedback.
form that they would
Yeah.
like a Quorum training. We see the number is good, we will actually organize one.
All right. Okay. With that, everyone, it's been a very good 2 hours. We hope that you've gained a lot. Okay. There's a lot more. 6 more days. Okay, to go. So please give us feedback on this one. Okay.
Before
Claim your.
that, they are saying that they can't click on the feedback form. I think you
Okay.
might have to repost that. Yeah.
All right. We'll repost. Okay, the feedback form. Okay. To you guys. All right. Don't worry. Okay. We'll get it sorted out in the next 10 minutes. Okay. Yes. Come back tomorrow, okay, 3 p.m. Okay, for the next session with Anche. With that, thank you, Harpreet. Okay, see you all tomorrow. Have a good night.
See you guys. Take care. Bye bye.